The Vancouver Canucks have seen their season upended after a number of players and team personnel have been diagnosed with COVID-19, the variant form that first emerged in Brazil. I'm here with Michael Trakos, Postmedia's hockey writer across the country. Mike, what's the latest?
Well, Mark, things are bad in Vancouver, and really they've gone from bad to worse. And it just kind of underscores how fragile this NHL season is. Like up until now, we've seen teams being having to postpone games, but really last week it started with one positive case for COVID-19 in Adam Gaudette. From there, it goes to 2 cases the next day, and by the weekend, really just 48 hours later, we're seeing half a dozen players on the COVID protocol list. And then today, that number is now swelled to 21, including coaching staff and other staff members. So, with where we are in the season, we're getting to that point where you can see the finish line, and there's not a whole lot of games or days to make up games. So I think this is the fear, is that if we get some outbreaks like we're seeing now, especially with these variants, we could see, maybe the NHL scaling back this 56 game season and shortening it like we saw last year. And just talking with one infectious disease expert today, we're getting to that point now where, if this continues, we could see the season being in jeopardy.
Just to jump off a little on that, last season, the NHL completed its year in bubbles, one in Toronto, one in Edmonton. How in danger is the North Division for the NHL this year? Because, as you know, we've seen all the teams playing in Canada against one another.
Yeah, it's funny, Mark, because up until this point, the the North Division has been sort of that example, that shining example of, like no cases in Toronto, no cases in Calgary, prior to Montreal and Edmonton postponing their games in Vancouver. This was like the North was the safe spot for, COVID. We weren't getting cases. We weren't getting any. It was almost kind of like, the Americans could learn a lot from what Canada's doing. But a couple things happened since then. Obviously, vaccination rates have gone down in Canada, and they've increased in the U.S. So more people are vaccinated in the U.S., particularly hockey players, where hockey players aren't getting vaccinated in Canada. The other thing is these variants, like the P1 strain, the B1 strain, they're really kind of causing a lot more difficulty now, where it's not just what one infectious disease expert described as classic COVID. Like this is a highly transmittable, easily transmittable strain, and we don't know what the future sort of holds. I think all you can do is just be vigilant, but we'll see where this goes. Like the NHL hasn't said whether the playoffs are going to be held in a bubble. They haven't said whether Canadian teams are going to be able to cross over the border. The latest news is that that 14-day quarantine if you acquire a player at the deadline, and keep in mind the trade deadline is a week away right now. That has been shortened to 7 days, but who knows what the next week or two brings for the NHL and just for cross-border travel.
Mike, do you think the NHL players should go front of the line for vaccines up here in Canada?
That's a difficult question. You know what? If you're going to have hockey and you're going to have sports, I think you sort of have to make a deal with the devil in that sense, and just say, you know what? If we want that entertainment factor, we're going to have to have players be vaccinated, or you run the risk of not having a season. And a lot of Canadians probably aren't going to be on board for that, but that's just the reality. If you want sports, you want entertainment, well, that kind of comes with it, in my mind. The NHL is not there yet. Obviously, in the States they are, but we'll see what comes about. I think the best news is that more people are getting vaccinated, and that's the good news. And right now, we haven't had to see any teams really shut down for good. A 2-week pause, I think a lot of people can live with.
Catch Mike in the pages of The Sun and the National Post. Subscribe to our YouTube channel down below.